Oh, there it is. There's
Yep.
that giggle. Hey,
I can't
Elaine.
not. Hi.
Oh my
Mm.
goodness.
Mhm.
All right. Well, let's see how we do with this topic.
Yeah.
You know, as a recovering, not fully recovered control freak, let's talk about control. I mean, I'm talking about myself, not about you, but you
Right.
might have control issues too.
I might, yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons we picked this topic is because I feel like it's so important in energy work, that control issue, because we control restricts energy.
Yes.
And we've done so much work and admitted how controlling we are.
Yeah.
And how we're still working on it. It's a work in practice.
Oh, yeah.
Even before this, right before we hit record, I'm like, I want to talk about what we're talking about. I want to control what we're going to
I
talk
want to
about.
control. I want to control the narrative here. So these are our talking points.
Yes.
Okay. And then I think you even said, I don't know if we have enough to talk about. I'm like, are you kidding me? In my head,
Right.
I'm going, seriously?
Yeah.
Two Capricorns don't have enough to talk about control issues? Are
Yeah.
you kidding?
Yeah, no. We could
Okay.
talk for days and days and whole workshop probably on this.
Okay. So you gave a great visual. I'm going to set this up
Okay.
for our listeners. In the pre-record, you told me a story. We were just catching up here, and you told me a great story. And this is actually a beautiful visual of someone working with control issues and being patient and letting the thing happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So take it away, Elaine, and tell the story about what happened.
Okay. I promise this is relevant.
It is. It totally is relevant.
It is. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, I have chickens, and they're fairly new chickens, only a few months old, and we have them out in the coop. And today was the first day that one got out of the coop. It, I love it because they rush the door when I come to see them, and I knew one of these days one was going to sneak out, and it did. It slipped right out as I opened the door. So I'm out there by myself. Chicken is out of the coop. Dog is out in the yard, and I am panicking a little bit. And
Okay, so pause there. Wait,
yeah,
pause there. So the panic
hmm
kind of took you out of the element of our last podcast, which was about peace.
oh
Because were
yes,
you peaceful? Were you
absolutely
peaceful at
not.
that
No,
moment?
no. But I was also out trying to connect into what the smartest thing would be. Because usually, I would say probably 2, 3 years ago, I would have really panicked. I would have set myself off. I would have been running around like a chicken with my hat, head cut off. But I pause. I pause and I realize the chicken isn't going anywhere. The chicken is panicked too and is trying to get back in the coop, but the door is shut. The dog is being good, which she has prey drive. So the chicken's not running. The dog is still. I'm like, first things first, we get the dog back inside.
Good
So
job.
yeah, chicken's fine. Get the dog back inside. And now to take care of the chicken.
Okay,
So
but you did phone a friend, so to speak, but you didn't
yes.
get backup.
No, he was on a work call, my husband inside. So I was by myself outside trying to catch this chicken. I know. Laughing about it now. Like I said, in my head, I wanted to run down this chicken, like chase it and try and grab it and get it back to where it needs to go. But I had to take that moment of peace and that moment of calm and, slowly go up to the chicken. The chicken's trying to get back in the coop, trying to get back with its friends. Um, So I was next to the chicken. I try and grab the chicken slowly. The chicken hops away, like a foot away. So it's me next to the chicken, try and grab the chicken. The chicken hops away. But I'm trying to do a slow grab because I'm trying not to scare it away.
Okay, so right there, does anybody feel their control issues showing up right here? Because I
Right.
certainly do.
Yeah.
I that process of like it just being out of reach, like the thing that you want to control, I just can't get it.
Yeah. Just keep tracking it down. So we went around just about the whole coop, just one hop at a time. Yeah. Until finally it panicked. It flew up. I caught it. We got it back in the coop and everything was fine.
So you caught it like midair, like it's flying, and all of a sudden it's easier to grab when it's
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. It did it on its own, kind of. I caught it, but yeah.
I love that story so much for the visual of working with control issues.
Yeah.
Okay, because now in my head, I just see chasing after a chicken, but like doing the dance step, almost doing the side step of like just,
Yep.
slowly creeping up on it, to.
Yep. That literally is what it is. But if you go full in, metaphorically too, with a chicken, you scare it.
Yeah.
The more you try and control it and the more intense you are about it, the more forceful, the more it's going to run away and get out of your grasp.
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
everything. That's life. That's energy. It's so funny that that's our visual that we're using.
Well, right now I could say, well, that's a wrap for this podcast because we just talked about control issues and now everybody's got the visual, so we can just move on.
Exactly.
And,
You're welcome.
yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny though, because okay, let's break that down into, like you said, it's life, it's energy work, it's these other things. So, if we talk about it from the energy perspective, when you get that person that comes to you for a session, because a lot of Reiki practitioners do it that way, they are trying to fix or control what the issue is and direct the Reiki to the person. Okay. That doesn't work.
No.
It works. The person might feel better for a little bit, but it's really not necessarily solving the problem. But when you allow the Reiki to do whatever it's going to do, the person to have the catharsis that comes up, or, the healing crisis or the emotional release, without fixing it, without saying, poor baby, that's okay. That's where we get tangled up in working with other people and Reiki, because it's like, you're coming to me, I want to help you. I want you to get your money's worth because you're paying me, baby.
Right.
And that's not what it's about. No. It's about the person coming back to their own authenticity. And so they have to figure it out. And you are no more driving the bus with Reiki and fixing somebody than you were going to be able to get that chicken if you ran after it.
Right.
Yeah. And so I think that's part of the reason we come back to doing Reiki for yourself first, because that takes mastery in releasing control too. Like think about what you said about where you would have been last year chasing down a chicken versus where you are this year.
Yes.
And a lot of that has to do with the work that you've done, allowing the energy to work with you in the way that it has.
Yeah, because energy flows so much better when you release that control. When you separate yourself from the outcome and the expectations, because that's what we're attached to. You release those attachments. Like in our classes, we talk about, somebody might come in they have hip pain. So instinctually, you want to put your hands over the hip, treat the hip, and just let the energy flow. And they may want to see that too as a client. But if you have your hands over their hip and you get an inkling, intuitive feeling to go up to their heart. Yeah. Energy is connected to so many other things.
Right.
So it's intuitively treating it. It's intuitively opening up your intuition to treat the whole system. Because most of the time, I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, the hip pain isn't just hip pain. It's connected to other stuff.
And that idea of directing it, like
yeah. It's a hard dance.
And I'm laughing on the inside and I'm stammering with my words because I was one of these people.
Yep.
Who
Same.
thought that I was sending Reiki. Because that's the language that we use. And I am not being flip about it. Well, maybe I'm being a little flip about it, but I am just opening to. The
Mhm.
most effective way that I can send Reiki
Mhm.
is getting out of the way and just connecting my awareness. When I say I'm connecting to Reiki, it's not like I have to plug into it and let it download. I mean, it's here. I'm connecting my awareness, because it doesn't leave me like, oh, hey, we got an appointment at 1:30, so I'll be back after lunch, and we'll get together, Beth, and we'll take care of that situation for you. No, that is not how Reiki works.
No.
Reiki is
Yeah.
like everywhere. It's me
Mhm.
that has to connect
Mhm.
my awareness,
Yes.
my intention, and my authenticity to get the heck out of the way of the
Mhm.
energy to do what the energy is going to do. So I'm sorry, I'm still seeing chickens.
That's okay. It was funny. I wish I would have had it recorded.
Oh, I so wish you would have had it recorded, because I
It
could have
was so
gotten a lot
funny.
of miles out of that
Oh,
one.
yeah. And the whole time I'm like, "Don't scare it. Don't scare it. Don't like, just be calm." Oh, and I'm trying to bring the Reiki in for myself too during it, now that I think
Yeah.
about it, because I'm like, if I'm calm, doing the animal Reiki, like sending that
Yeah.
out, but trying to do that in that situation, that
Hey,
takes a lot of practice too.
it does take a lot of practice. It
Mhm.
does take a lot of practice. I think you leveled up that day,
Yeah,
you
I
know?
think so too.
And kudos, by the way, to my girl Lily.
Right? I know. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was proud. She's got
yeah.
a she's a shepherd Malinois. She's got prey drive, and I can't fault her for that.
No?
But she did good. She didn't go after it, and the chicken wasn't running either, but,
Well, I think part of the reason too she didn't go after it, because you had I'm going to say it this way just to be snarky. You had control over your anxiety,
Right.
right? You
Yep.
weren't anxious. So the anxiety really wasn't showing up
Yeah, she wasn't
where
trying to protect me or
yeah, 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 yeah. So,
Mhm. It
in a
really was.
control
It
yeah,
was a yeah, what's the like, an exercise in my being what's the word? Like, just honoring my own energy and being in control of my
yeah,
own energy, and, that's the other thing about control, that's the only thing that you have control over, and even then, you don't even have that much control, but that's the only
right.
thing
I
that you can
know.
really take care of fully is yourself and your own energy.
Exactly.
Like, I couldn't
And the
take care of
more
the chicken's energy or Lily's energy or
well, because it becomes in concert, like
Mhm.
you're going along doing great when you're doing your own practice, maybe, and you're in your own bubble, in your
Yeah.
own lane. I'm doing my meditation, I'm doing myself Reiki, and then I go out to the yard and a chicken gets out and the dog is there. And
Mhm.
okay, now what? Now my calm, my peace that we talked about in the last episode is totally out the window.
Yeah.
And the only thing I can do is fall into the flow of the situation and do this little dance until everyone's energy aligns.
Mhm.
Because you weren't in sync, you were working on it.
Yep.
You were in sync with Lily. You got Lily in the house in an easy swoop, right?
Yep. Mhm.
The chicken, not so much. A couple months in, you guys are still doing your dance, and they're chickens. I
Yeah.
mean, so the visual of you finally, the beauty to me, I'll say it this way, the beauty to me is when you stepped into flow with the chicken, is when the chicken took flight
Mhm.
and you caught the chicken in the air.
Yeah.
That is beautiful,
Mhm.
because it's synchronistic. It's there's a word. See, but it's that rhythm. You were in perfect rhythm, and you just allowed it to happen and
Mhm.
caught the chicken. Okay.
Yeah.
So the tough stuff about control issues.
Mhm.
Controlling people will tell you that they don't have control issues.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
know,
Mhm.
it just has to be this way. Okay.
Mhm.
They did this to me, blah, blah, blah. I have said those things.
Mhm.
I
Same.
have said those things.
Yep.
It's their fault. They weren't doing what they were supposed to do.
Mhm.
Well,
Yep.
like the chicken was just doing the chicken thing.
Yeah.
So acceptance is the first rule.
Mhm.
And I love rules,
Yeah.
because I'm a control freak. of allowing myself to step out of that controlling mindset, accepting people where they are. Now here's the tough thing. Just because I accept you where you are doesn't mean you are going to accept me where I am. So challenge, that's one of those challenging places. And again, it's about being in the flow. If it doesn't line up, I am not going to be able to catch that chicken until it flies in the air, right? Again, accepting you where you are, we might not line up. We might not, and it's okay.
Yeah, you can't
It is
force it.
perfect. You can't force it. I cannot make somebody accept me where I am.
No.
And that's usually where the issue with control, because I'm opinionated. I have my way of doing things, and I know things. Like, see, that's the other thing. Like when you're when you're a recovering control freak Capricorn, you just know stuff.
Yeah.
But you have to let people do the thing, even though you know it's not the right thing.
Right. Yeah.
You've got to let them do it.
And in the spiritual community, like we are highly sensitive to feelings and people, and we see and we feel more than a lot of people do. But we don't have, what's the word? I want to say control, but that's not the word that wants to come in. We just have to allow it. We just have to let it be. Because even though we know and we see and we feel, doesn't mean that we have to fix it for other people.
It's not our responsibility. We don't have permission.
No.
And
that's what I feel like a lot of spiritual people think, that's their job. That's their mission, to fix everybody. They can feel it. I've been like, I was one of those people. That's why we're talking about this, because we have been there. We've done that. We're still working on it. Like, I still am a bleeding heart and want to help everybody, but it doesn't mean that it's my job. And it doesn't mean that they're going to accept that help or that they want that help.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, control and knowing things is probably one of my biggest triggers. Like, I can be Al Pacino in The Godfather. They can pull me right back into those behaviors. I think I'm out. I think I got it. I think I'm releasing control. And then someone does something and I'm like, it's right there.
Yeah. It's those expectations. You expect people to act and do and feel the same way you do, or you want them to. And that's not part of it. We have to release control to let everybody be their authentic selves, whether that lines up with us or not, whether we like it or not. Again, that's not our responsibility.
Right. Well, I think the part that comes in too, which is a very big challenge, is the idea of the ego and the unhealed ego versus the healed ego that we talk about in our Reiki classes. Because there are a lot of folks who think that ego is bad.
Yeah.
And an unhealed ego is where it is the master of control freak. Okay. A healed ego says, I can see you walking towards the edge of the cliff. I can tell you that there's a cliff there. I'm going to allow you to keep walking, and do I intervene? Now, that might not be like a really great metaphor there. Maybe I'll go back to the chicken metaphor, because, I certainly wouldn't let somebody fall off the edge of the cliff. But they might fight me, and then they take me with them. Now, that is not a good scenario either.
No.
But coming back to the chicken and the safety of the chicken, getting back into the pen, getting back into community, there is a way that you can ask permission to say, do you want to know what I'm thinking about this? Can I offer you some assistance?
Right.
I've done that. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm going to tell you what I see is showing up if you want to know.
Right. Yeah.
And that is a hard thing from a teacher's perspective too, is allowing students to learn at the level, at the place that they are. Sometimes they need that lesson to come around a couple of times, and the 2x4 gets bigger, or the number of times you get hit with a 2x4.
Yeah. I think it's hard for hard for us because we see, like when I think about our students, we see so much potential and we just want to,
Right.
you know, we just want them to know how we see them or,
Your controlling is showing.
yeah, it is. But that's something that we've talked about extensively and had to release just because we teach them, we guide them, doesn't mean that they are going to teach or take the guidance or, what we're offering. And it may not be the right time, it may not be right for them, but
Right.
it's what we see and what we have to offer. But
Yeah.
it's releasing the attachment.
And some of those hard lessons, to be quite honest with you, are the lessons that they need to move them to the next level. It's
Yeah.
kind of like the butterfly coming out of the chrysalis. If you
Mm-hmm.
help it out, it's going to be crippled. If you let it struggle a little bit,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the wings are beautiful because
Yep.
they actually have to be working them to get out.
Mm-hmm.
And while we are both very intuitive and we do work in the spiritual side of things, we do not know exactly what somebody's soul contract is.
Right.
We might have an idea,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't know if they've, added an addendum to it in
Mm-hmm.
their life.
Yep.
And so there again, honoring people where they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think going back to the part about knowing that not everyone's going to honor where you are, the truth there is they may be mirroring for you that you're not honoring yourself where you
Mm-hmm.
are.
Yeah. That's a lesson that shows up a lot for me.
Yeah, that's a hard one. Like,
It
so
is.
I think I need to say that one again,
Mm-hmm.
is maybe in a question form, which is when the challenge comes up that someone is not honoring you where you are,
Mm-hmm.
the question is, are you honoring yourself where you are?
Yeah.
Do you appreciate the growth? Do you appreciate the lessons that you've gone through?
Mm-hmm.
The release of the anxiety, the ability to catch the chicken midair. Like, do you appreciate that? Because,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and with as much work as I feel that I've done, I still kind of struggle with appreciating where I am.
Me too. Yeah, for sure. And I get shown those lessons over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
But it's being aware of them too. That, the healing is a spiral. It's not, one and done. It's coming back to those and releasing that control, choosing your energy. Usually, if somebody is triggering me, something in me, we talked about the peace before and the triggers. One thing I've learned, and it's so hard, is to look at myself, like you said, just reevaluate your energy.
Yeah.
Why is that triggering me? Is that something that I'm feeling unsteady about in myself? Is that something that I feel like maybe I'm doing somewhere that I'm unsure of? That's a hard one too.
Oh, if we could just have it as a destination,
Yeah, it would be nice.
Right. And just release all the control.
I feel like this needs a part two.
I know. Well, I think, I mean, it's a practice. It's not perfection.
No, it's not.
There are certain things that you quote unquote take responsibility for. Like I think about okay, we've talked about your chickens, but think about the difference. Oh, I've got a good one.
Okay.
Think about the difference as your older son is going to be driving soon.
Yeah. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah. Well, okay, but
yeah. Yeah.
So there are rules and limitations and things as you start the process to learn how to drive.
Mm-hmm.
You have your permit, you have to drive with somebody else, you have drive after 9 if they still do that kind of thing, like limited license and stuff like that, limited number of people that can be in the car. All these things are control structures for safety.
Mm-hmm.
So allowing your son to operate in that framework and trusting the fact that he's going to do fabulous, is still a hard thing because there is still that pull of I want to keep him safe. He is my little person who is not little anymore. And I'm sorry, I'm looking at your face and you're like,
Thank you for bringing all this up. It's great. But no.
But I mean, but those are like
It's absolutely relevant because it is. I
yeah,
know, you're gonna make me cry. Um, no, but it is. It's bringing it back to the trust. It's the trusting that I have given him what he needs. It's trusting that the universe and however things work out are working out for how they're supposed to work out.
right.
And that's hard. But
Oh, it totally is.
yeah.
Totally is. Oh, goodness sakes.
I
We're
know.
going to put some Reiki on that one because,
Thank you.
I'll
Bringing
make
up
an
all the stuff
appointment. I'll make an appointment with Reiki to sit with you for,
for 1:30.
yeah, for 1:30. I mean, and I don't mean that to sound as flip as it does, but I kind of do. Like, because that is this idea that it's, like Reiki's just waiting in the wings,
Mhm.
kind of like sometimes I think we look at like our guides and our angels as just like sitting there watching over us, got nothing better to do
Right.
than worry about, am I going to take the wrong turn on
Mhm.
the bypass? Am I going to,
Mhm. Like being on call. It's not
yeah,
like being on call. Well, this
yeah.
okay, so idea for another podcast would be like working with the spirit guides and I'm getting chills, developing a relationship with them
Mm-hmm.
because it's not just like a call button.
It's not.
It's and that's part of the trust too is trusting your intuition connect to their guidance and how that works too.
Well, and I think that you have to develop a relationship with Reiki.
Mhm.
you know like
Yeah.
I feel the same way about the guides and angels and ascended masters and brothers and sisters of the light
Mhm.
as I do about Reiki overall, is that you have to develop a relationship with it,
Mhm. Eh,
because it is a consciousness, it is divine consciousness,
yep.
and it is constant,
Mhm. And it is a
and
relationship.
it is a relationship, absolutely.
Mhm. Just like a human relationship, the more, when you first meet somebody, you don't trust them.
Right.
The more you work with them, the more you talk to them, the more interact with them, the stronger the trust gets. The same with Reiki.
Okay, I'm not so sure about that for me. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
I have
Okay.
trust issues. I'm
Trust or
just kidding.
distrust. Yeah. But
Yeah, the
yeah.
more you distrust them, I don't know. No, no,
Mhm.
just kidding. Yes, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You develop,
Mhm.
and that's the practice. That's why they call it a practice. It's the practice of Reiki. It's,
Mhm.
that idea that you don't master Reiki, Reiki masters you,
Mhm.
because you're developing in your authentic purpose. You're developing in your divine self
Mhm.
through working with the energy, and the relationship that you have with your guides, angels, and all,
Mhm.
at all,
Yeah.
totems too,
Yeah. Mhm.
are all part of that deep understanding of the self. All right. Oh, that was so much fun.
It was that was
Okay.
yeah.
That was so much fun. I'm just going to end with that was so much fun.
Okay. It was fun reliving the chicken story.
Oh, I could hear that chicken story over and over again because I get different visuals every time I think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny. All
All
right.
right. So, uh, control, release it, release it. Keep practicing releasing control.
Mhm. Opening
Yeah.
to the energy.
Opening. Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Whew. Until next time.
See ya.